Welcome to the Grand Prix Project podcast.
Welcome once again to the Grand Prix Project. My name is Andre, along with my co-host
Thanos876. Welcome. Thank you again for joining us for episode 2 of the Grand Prix Project.
Yeah, the season is up on us. It's really about to kick off right now. Yeah, so what's dominating the news this past week? The F175, which was the official F1 launch for 2025 and also celebrating their 75th anniversary.
Correct.
So yeah, how was it? What do you think of the whole thing?
At the O2 Arena. To be honest, when they first announced it, I thought it was sounded kind of like a bit gimmicky. You're going to have all the teams there, unveiling what the livery is going to be for the upcoming season. But I got home from work, sat down, and I said, let me just watch this with an open mind. And to be honest, I kind of enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. I found the whole thing kind of like, it's different. It's something new. And again, and this is what you want with Formula One. You want to spark, you want something different. You want to spark a sort of excitement, conversations around the sport, get people involved. Because whilst I'm sure majority of the crowd there were all F1 fans, maybe some people they weren't, and a friend could be like, yo, I'm going to this event, come along, and they drag a friend on, and that might, just by doing that friend might become like, oh, this is interesting, I might like this, let me see if I can get into this. So it was a well put together event. I know, the so-called purists of the sport, they don't like change, they fear change, and if you do anything outside of the norm of what they see as F1 or altogether, it's met with immediate negative impact. And I think this event was actually quite well put on. Some of the music probably wasn't to my taste, but I sat there and I kind of like, I'm nodding my head to some of these tracks and going on. And then to see Thames come on, the cars being unveiled, the liveries and so on, I'm kind of like, you start to feel like, yeah, okay, the season is around the corner now. That excitement is starting to build again, for what's going to be 9 months of mayhem, controversy, bickering amongst fans, teams, etc., and see who's going to come out at the end of it, the champions, in come December. So yeah, I tweeted about it. Kudos to F1 and Liberty. For once, I think they did something that I think if you did a poll, majority of the fans would have said, yeah, we liked it. We definitely did like it. So I give them 2 thumbs up for that one.
Yeah, I feel the same. I was seeing this stuff. I had a conversation with a guy with an account.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was a constructive conversation, because that's the space that I'm trying to create here. I'm not trying to be arguing with people. We're just all just trying to bring our opinions, across, and let's have a constructive conversation. A lot of time we're gonna agree to disagree, right? Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just differences of opinion, right?
Yep. Because I was looking at the conversation and he said exactly what I just said in the beginning.
That's exactly what he said.
He's a purist, and he's like, that's not Formula One. And I'm like, but it's not taking away any, because he's saying you shouldn't be creating excitement. The excitement should come from the track. But I'm like, but that's not the race. That was just pretty much like to kick off the season, to get everyone.
It's promotion, marketing, which everything needs.
Exactly. And I think I commented and I say, if you look, MotoGP did the same thing the week prior in Bahrain, Thailand. They've never done it before, but they did something different, and you can see how the crowd in Thailand actually they turned out. Everyone, a lot of people tuned in on over Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube. I did the same. I watched it, and I kind of like it. It's something different from the norm. You can't. It becomes kind of like boring and monotonous if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. You're gonna like, yo, give me something different.
And
It's
and also
yeah,
remember when Liberty just took over, they did it the London one. Lewis wasn't present. Do you remember that one that we went?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I remember
that one was also good.
the one in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when Bastille performed, that was a good thing. That concert,
Mm.
Bastille. I became a Bastille fan ever since that. Still listening to them to this day. Great
yeah.
band actually, Bastille. Some great music.
Because I,
Yeah, the way I was
I
looking
couldn't.
at it, right? I liked it because even when I was looking at this, how people, how they were arriving, different cars. I like Max and
Red Bull.
yeah, I like their presentation,
They did
like
the what
with the
chicken shop?
street
The
with the
chicken
street
shop.
races, Morley's Chicken Shop, right? Yeah, for people who are not in the UK or from the UK, here there's a chicken shop in the UK, famous Morley's Chicken, right?
Yeah,
I
make
like
out.
how Red Bull did their thing, and that's in line with Red Bull's brand.
Hmm.
Because you could say what you want about Red Bull, right? But you're not gonna beat them when it comes on to marketing and promotion, right?
True.
Yeah,
Because again, I think
that's
that
their
the
thing.
whole ethos has always been Red Bull in itself. The core business is kind of like marketing.
Yeah,
They
and
they don't make anything that they sell. They don't make the drinks that they sell, the TV channels that they own. It's basically was they bought a TV channel, the magazine, the publications, everything. They don't make anything.
yeah, they're like a
So they
lifestyle brand. And you gotta respect.
yeah,
I personally love the brand, right? I just love what they do. I like they got a type of happy-go-lucky type of situation going on, right? I just like the fact I like when they pull up in the on the NSX. Yuki doing the burnout. Yuki's a wild boy,
yeah,
right?
man.
So but yeah, back to a lot of the negative things. I explained to someone, the same guy I was talking to on the feed, that you have to understand it's about entertainment, right? It's not just for purists and it's just for racing. Perfect example, and I'm gonna tell the story same like I told that guy on Twitter, on X. My wife was never into any form of motorsport. My wife probably only found out that motorsport exists when she met me, right? Um, I took her to MotoGP, and now I cannot go without her, right? And I say that to say, people gotta understand that you have to do something to attract other people, to bring them to it, for them to realize, oh, I actually like this, right?
Yep.
And the things that you have to do, you may have to bring their favorite artist somewhere. So they say, okay, like the concerts, oh, because a lot of these concerts that they keep, the artist is actually on tour and it's actually on their tour schedule, right?
That I didn't know.
Yeah, some of them, it's sometimes it's on their tour schedule, so the schedule like as a tour date.
Hmm.
So sometimes their fans are coming and they may come. A lot of these fans, they may come in town early, and just by way of coming then they come across F1, right? And just the atmosphere, they probably stumble on it based on that, and then they'll be like, hey, I actually like this. I'm gonna start watching. I'm gonna join some form of community on socials or somewhere, right? So you have to have stuff like this, to help push the sport forward. Not everyone is just gonna stumble across it on TV. You have to do other things. You have to bring in other brands. You have to collaborate with other avenues of business that probably when you put them together, you're thinking, how does this and motorsport mix, right?
True.
But in the end, it works out because these are people that didn't know it existed, but because something that they're interested in is partnering with F1, MotoGP, or any type of motorsports, and they stumble across it, becomes a fan, right? And people gotta understand that. And this whole thing about purists, and it's racing. And guess what? Without business, there's no racing. Let's just keep it.
Yeah, definitely.
Racing is very expensive. You need sponsorship. You need a lot of things to make racing work. right? So people have to understand that, you know.
which
So
is why I don't, people use the term DTS as to mean something derogatory, but I don't have a problem with people who entered Formula One via DTS
and breaks up.
because
So we gotta remember we probably have new listeners. So DTS is for the fans who
Drive to
entered
Survive,
F1 through Drive
it's
to Survive, the Netflix series. So if you
yeah.
haven't seen that, you could go check that out.
I think the new series is coming out next month or something like that. I don't remember the date. But the thing is, you have to have an avenue into a sport.
Yeah.
Something has to happen to attract you to it. Again, like you could, like you say, you could stumble across it on TV, but that was then back then, because then Formula One was on free to air TV. Now it's on behind a paywall. You're not going to stumble on it unless you've got a paid TV subscription. So how else are you going to get people into the sport? You have to think outside the box, which is why when DTS came, I think DTS was a brilliant move by Liberty, because you realize, but just by doing that, the interaction in the sport increased tenfold, and you have to remember that came off the back of us being in lockdown for a whole entire year.
Yeah, because
When people say DTS, I don't really buy into the negativity of DTS, because, like I said, look, my thing is, it's not how you get in. It's a question of now that you're in, do you enjoy what you're seeing? Are you gonna become a part of the community? Are you gonna try and expand the community by try and get other people to view it, talk to other people about it who might not watch it? Because the best form of how you say it, brand exposure is apparent. It's by mouth, word of mouth. So the more people you tell, the more it expands, and people can start gravitating towards it. So, Liberty did an
yeah, they're
excellent
doing a
job
great
with.
job. Guys, I've met people who I'm a car sales guy, right? So now people know what I actually do for a job. I'm a car sales guy. And I've met people at my dealership put their suitcases. I'm thinking, did you fly into buy a car? They say, yeah, actually, we actually came for F1. We're just buying a car, and we're going to drive to Austin. And a lot of them are young people. How did you? Yeah, I came across it on Netflix, this Drive to Survive, and it was amazing. I've become a fan ever since. So it is working. I've met several people in my job who became F1 fans through Drive to Survive.
Yeah, so it works. So so the whole so it go back again. Just the whole conversation, this argument about purists and F1 needs to be this way, look, at the end of the day, the product on track will be the same. It's not going to change, but you still have to expand the commercial side of the sport. And how else are you going to do that? You have to get more fans through the gates and engaging with events. But at the same time, you also have to make it affordable for fans. But anyway, just to segue back into our original starting point, the F1 live event, I think it was brilliant, and at the same time there was some bit of controversy at the event, and I think you probably know what I'm going to talk about, the Boeing situation, because at the introduction of Red Bull,
Yeah.
Horner got booed, Max got booed, the team basically got booed. And you can hear in Horner's voice when he was talking that I think it got to him. I think he took it personally, because I don't think he felt like, obviously they're using this whole thing about Britishness and whatnot. Being at home, they would do something like that to him. But at the same time, the FIA got booed before Horner and Red Bull got booed, right? And now you have Max's dad coming out the last 24 hours saying Max will look to boycott such future events because basically he got booed. To which the FIA has now put out a statement talking about tribalism and booing inform the sport and etc etc etc. And I'm looking at this like, when did we become so when has F1 become so isolated that it feels it's beyond, it's fans booing is beneath them. There's no sport in history. You can go back to the Colosseum in Rome. People have been booed. World leaders have been booed. Entertainers have been booed. So why, if an F1 driver gets booed, you need to release a statement talking about, you're gonna have to investigate and talk about tribalism? And now Max fans are now on they've always been on this premise about British media bias, etc., etc. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Why is F1 acting like this has never happened before? And by putting out that statement, I put out a couple of tweets this morning because I was kind of like rage tweeting. They've backed themselves into a corner now, because by reacting to what happened and putting out that statement, the next time someone gets booed, you're gonna have to put out that exact statement. Because if you don't put that statement out, fans are gonna be looking at you like, okay, you came out in support of what happened to Max and Red Bull, but you're not coming out in support of Yuki getting booed, Lando getting booed, Charles getting booed, Lewis getting booed. Why did you come to Red Bull's defense? What's so special about them that you feel they need to be mollycoddled, wrapped in cotton wool, and protected by your organization? I just find the whole entire thing so ridiculous, because again, booing is part of sports culture. You can never get rid of it. Whether you agree with it or not, fans have a right to display their displeasure, right? And if booing is their way of doing it, I'd rather they boo than actually go and do something like we saw in Austria. I think it was in 2023, where they were burning Lewis Hamilton merchandise. Was it Austria or was it Zandvoort? I think it was Austria. They were literally burning Lewis Hamilton merchandise, burning effigies of him. I'd rather you boo than do stuff like that, because what that tells me then is you're not on the path of might actually get physical. If you come across one of those drivers, you might want to do one of them harm. So booing is harmless. It's harmless bit. I say a harmless bit of fun. You laugh it off, walk on, because it's not gonna mess up your day. I know I'm rambling on a bit, so I'll give you the mic in a second. 2017, Lewis got one Monza, and he got booed. They booed the hell out of him. The Tifosi went after him, and he stood on stage and he just laughed and said, "You know what?" Basically said, "Yeah, let them boo. Mercedes power is better than Ferrari power." Boom, gotcha. What can they do? He played them at their own game, so he said, "Hey, okay, boo me if you want. Let me get back at you and kill you with my counter argument." But this whole thing about booing it's ridiculous, and where Max is concerned, right? And this is where I find the hypocrisy with his dad. Max has come out. Previously, drivers have been booed, and Max has said, "Well, this has nothing to do with me. If just close your ears." So he has shown an indifference to people getting booed. He doesn't care. So if Max doesn't care about people getting booed, why are you now acting all what's the word I'm trying to use? I can't think of a word I want to use.
He's saying basically now he's been a victim, right?
Yeah, he's become victimhood now.
Yeah. The thing is, I agree with you. Booing has always been a part of life, right? Presidents get booed, right?
I get booed.
Everyone gets booed. Like, it's just part of sports, actually, right? I don't think a statement is needed if someone gets booed. And I'm glad that you brought up the Lewis Hamilton getting booed in Italy, right?
Mhm.
And who's loving Lewis Hamilton now? So
I
that
mean,
should tell you it's never anything personal. People just like what they like, and in the moment, hey, boo, right? And everything
yeah,
people take personal, and oh, you're in my feelings. Like booing has always been part of sports, right? I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to like it. Michael Schumacher been booed. Like, like why do y'all
Senna's
think?
been
Why? Yeah,
booed.
yeah. Why do you think? Max or anyone at all? Not because I don't want it to sound like I'm picking anyone at all. No one is beyond reproach when it comes onto this booing thing.
Exactly.
You don't have to like it, right? But I don't think it deserves a statement. Like, you know, anywhere you go, even if you go to anywhere you go, if people are disgruntled or people are dissatisfied, they're gonna boo. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? They're talking about booing. Have they ever had fans like? Have you ever seen like when some football team, like when the Cowboys is, and the whole stadium just walks out whilst
Yeah.
these guys are playing and putting their life on the line, right?
Yeah.
The fans are like, nah, y'all crazy. Hey, I'm out. Empty stadium,
Look,
right?
it's just
It's
people
just
voicing
yeah,
their
it is what
displeasure
it
at
is.
something that happened at that
Because
point
the
in
same
time.
people that are booing Max now, if he goes to their favorite team, i.e. Lewis, the Ferrari, now the Tifosi loves him.
Exactly.
If he goes to another team, all of a sudden the same people that were booing are cheering. So it's what it is. Like, this is not that serious.
Exactly. So
It's not
so
that
that's why
serious.
I'm asking the question, why would you need to put up the statement? How was Max affected by this? Is Max
Because in most things, Max tried to remove himself from it and act nonchalant about it, right? Uh, I guess those boos was just extra, the
I'm
basement
glad you,
boos.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because yesterday I mentioned this in one of my tweets that you can't put yourself in a position where you say you're unaffected and you're uncaring about these issues, but then you turn around and boycott Ted Kravitz and Sky Sports F1 because Ted would not stop talking about Abu Dhabi 21. But at the same time, you say you don't care. Your action says opposite. If you don't care that people are booing you, you just go, oh, let them boo. Who gives a shit? Let them boo. But the fact that his dad is now coming out, which tells you this is a conversation he had with his dad. So for his dad to come out and now be saying this tells you that it's affecting him. So this whole I persona of him, where he's like, I'm Max Verstappen, I'm hard, nothing phases me. It's just a front.
Yeah, the thing is, I get it, you know, I get it, but also you just gotta embrace the pantomime villain role. It's just what it is. You just gotta
Every
wear it.
sport has a villain.
Yeah, you just
Every
gotta.
sport has a villain. As
I
some
personally,
Lewis was a villain
I
when
personally
he
like
was
Max.
running ragged rings around Ferrari the last from 2014 up until we know what happened in 21. Lewis was pretty much a villain to some people. So every sport has a
You have
villain.
to have a villain.
You
That's
just
just
have to
boring. You gotta.
embrace it and like, yeah, all right, then cool. I'm the villain. I'm the villain right now. All right, cool. I'll wear that badge with honor and just move on.
But
People
I don't think
not
no
gonna ruin
statement
your
is.
day.
I don't think no statement. As I said, you don't have to agree with it. I don't think no statement is needed from the sports governing body for booing. That's just
And
crazy.
And the thing is, what the FIA failed to realize as well is people still haven't gotten over 2021. And people won't get over 2021. And the booing that Max gets, Red Bull gets, and the FIA gets is tied to that.
All right, and I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but I'm just gonna say this, right, regarding to 2021, right? If people just want to be honest with themselves, right, then their beef need to be with the people that made that decision, right?
Yep.
Because I always say, if the shoes was on the other foot, where those cars were swapped the other way around, and that benefit went to Mercedes and Lewis won a championship, Max Verstappen would have been disgruntled.
Of course they would have.
So it's like So which is why when I look at it, I'm like, man, people just got to understand that any team that benefited from that was going to take that. Right? So,
but the caveat that though, you have to be careful though, because the difference here is how it happened. One team pressured the organization into changing.
That's what I'm saying. How it happened, that's kind of, yeah, I get it. But what I'm saying to you, if the same thing arose and it was Toto Wolff on the ringers, doing what Christian did, we would have had the same situation, just with different fans. So it's just like one of them ones where it's like, they just gotta, the beef need to be with. I don't think it's fair for people to dislike Red Bull for that.
Yeah, I think it is fair for them to do that because again, they're the ones that basically.
Let me ask you: if Toto Wolff had done that, would you have hated Mercedes and Lewis won the championship?
I'm a Mercedes and Lewis fan, so I'd react the exact same way the Max and Red Bull fans are reacting. Okay, in that I'm going to say we don't care, but the point is to counter your argument.
But I'm saying, would you understand that though? But you can understand why why I'm saying that people shouldn't have beef with them.
Yes, but you have to have beef with them because
what
again,
I'm saying to you, your argument would be but your argument would be you would have been trying to convince someone not to dislike Mercedes for that type of situation because you're a Mercedes and Lewis fan.
No, I'd be happy with the result.
And you'd be telling someone, hey, why you don't need to hate Mercedes.
Actually, no, I won't. I wouldn't have been happy because again, I know the rules of the sport. And I can't in good conscience sit down and say, no, that exactly what happened was a breach of the rules.
Right, but
and then try. No, I'm being serious here. I couldn't, in good conscience, try and convince you that the rules were not broken when I know for a fact the rules were broken. Let me
ask you this. I'm just playing devil's advocate. So would you be calling Lewis Hamilton an 8-time world champion?
Yes. But that's a different argument. The argument here is, would I try and convince people that Lewis won that championship fair and square? No, because I know the rules were broken. I'm not going to try and sit here and tell you that the sky is blue, the sky is red, when you can see for yourself the sky is blue.
So that's what
we all saw what happened. The rules were broken. So in that regard, people can blame Red Bull. And this is... because, again, they were the ones who coerced that man into breaking the rules.
The thing is, right?
They're the instigator of it, and he's the one who carried out the crime.
Have you ever heard the saying, all is fear in love and war?
But this isn't love and war.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Ultimately, what happened, Christian Horner did what he felt he needed to do for his team, right? As anyone would, right? Ultimately, the guy that made the decision, that's on him.
Yeah,
right?
But at the same time, you still can put blame on Red Bull because, again, they coerced him into carrying out their instructions, and that's exactly what you did.
Coerced a grown man that's in a position of power.
We're literally watching the same thing happening in the US right now with the presidency. So it doesn't really matter what age you are or what position you are. You can be coerced into doing something that's against, and that's literally, so people can.
But I think people are only disliking Red Bull because it wasn't their team that benefited. Anyone whose team benefited, it wouldn't.
I don't think that's the only reason why people are disliking Red Bull. I think Red Bull has presented themselves in a way that makes them unlikable.
Yeah, they win by any means necessary. Whatever it takes.
It's not just by that. They present themselves as an unlikable team. You can't. That's how I see it.
What has Red Bull done for people? Apart from
team
2021,
principle.
what have Red Bull done? I'm not going to go in the private stuff, which I don't want to go down that route, right? With Christian and whatever happened, right?
But you can't ignore it.
I'm not, but people hated Red Bull before that.
Exactly, and this situation only amplifies that hate more because again, the culture, the team itself, they've not
people hated Red Bull when Seb was winning.
Yes, because again,
when Red Bull stopped winning, No one hated them.
They still hated them. They still hated them.
People was okay with Red Bull being where they at, and as soon as they start winning again, despite how people may look at it, all of a sudden they're public enemy number one.
Well, right? Okay then. So people were okay with the things that they were doing, just as long as they weren't winning. But now that they start winning, people amplify that more. And
but that's what I'm saying. Am I missing something? What have they done besides
Um,
the chorusing in Abu Dhabi?
I mean, gaslighting fans, you know, the bullish behavior, the presenting themselves as.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just like, what is the bullish behavior though?
Silverstone 2021. Look at the things that were said after the incident. They pretty much incited the racism that Lewis was received, and they pretended like they did nothing wrong. When Christian Horner was interviewed, his response was, "Oh, by the way, Max was also abused." Sorry, what? In response to Lewis Hamilton being racially abused at Silverstone after Silverstone 2021, his argument was Max also got abused. So how can people not dislike you?
Yeah, I get it. But I just think I think most of Red Bull dislike is just from them. It's just from them winning, bro. People, that's what I'm gonna put it down to.
But again, they've made themselves.
Yeah, I guess
unlikable by fans, and
if they make themselves unlikable, they just gotta wear that badge, right?
Exactly, which is why I said, people can blame them for what happened in AD 21 because they're the ones who instigated it, and then that idiot basically acquiesced to them and did exactly what they wanted. So both parties are guilty, and I think Max, you can attach that to Max as well because he's the benefactor of that whole entire incident.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate. Hold on,
yeah.
It's unfortunate on him because in 2020, whilst he was a terrorist at times, he drove a good season. That season did not deserve to end the way it did, and for us to now 4 years later still be talking about it like this. And will we continue to talk about it for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line?
Let me say this. I'm gonna move on from this quick, but I know Max get a lot of stick, right? But I'm just gonna say this and move on. Max is no different from Senna, and he's no different from Michael Schumacher.
In what sense?
The things that they do on track.
But what things? I've heard this argument many times before, and I've always asked the question: what did Senna do on track that was so bad that he'd fall in the same category as
I'm not saying they're in the same category. I'm saying there's certain things like running into his teammate winning a championship.
That was once.
Right, but I'm saying it, but people, they praise that type of thing, right? No one gives, and I don't want to speak about Senna because God bless the dead, right? But I'm just saying, right? Michael Schumacher crashing into, is it Damon Hill? Right, so I'm looking at it like there's a lot of things that Max gets sticks for that a lot of their legends actually have done, and they get praised for it, right? But I
don't think Michael has ever been praised. Michael is known and has been widely proven to be one of the dirtiest world champions ever. No one praises him for what he did to Damien Hill. No one praises him for what he did to remember when he parked it in Monaco? Was it 2006?
Of course, because now when you listen, no one speaks about those things. If you're not a purist, and if someone would say Michael Schumacher or whoever, you think these guys are squeaky clean. You have to be a pure. Yeah, you come on. When they speak about these guys, they put their names in lights, right? But they've done some questionable stuff, and it's the same thing that Max is doing, but he gets a lot of stick for it.
I've asked this question.
Not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that he gets a lot of stick for a lot of things that a lot of legends have done and gets praised for. Our people brush it under the carpet.
No, I don't think so. I disagree because Michael was never given praise for running into Damon Hill. He was never given praise for the other nefarious things that he has done.
That's
No
what I'm
one has
saying to you.
ever
But if you
praised him.
think about it, no one talks about it. No, you have to be a purist to know,
Well, because again, we're more dealing with recency bias.
right?
We're in a different generation now. So Michael is no
So
longer racing, so he's no longer discussed. But if you go into any other chat groups and there's a discussion about Michael, these things do come up, and people point out that this guy was a dirty, dirty driver. The man could have literally killed Rubens Barrichello in Hungary 2010.
yeah, well, as
He's
I
a
said,
dirty.
I
But hold on, just to go back a little bit, because people talk about the whole Senna thing. Whenever people bring up Senna, right, and about him being this dirty job, it's the one example they have.
no, I did not say it was dirty.
No,
Don't
no,
let
no,
the
no.
words
I'm
out.
not saying.
I'm
No, I'm not
saying that,
saying you. I'm
but
I'm not saying you. But if you look at that season, because what people also ignore, what Senna had to put up with, was the president of the FIA. I think his name was, if I can remember his name properly, Jean-Michel Ballesteri or something like that, was also French, and he was pro Prost. The reason why Senna and Prost had that collision was because that man changed the grid position, and that affected how Senna started the race, and he was not happy about that. That's what created that situation, and that's the only example people can bring up when they discuss Senna in this same category as Michael Schumacher. And now they want to put Max in that category as
no,
well.
I'm
And
as I
is that
said,
and
let
to
me
be honest, is that a category you want to be put in though?
no, but let me say this. I'm not saying that, right? He should be. I'm just saying that there's things that Max have done that has happened in the past by legends. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, the question is, was it warranted, the booing? I don't like it, but it's part of sports, and they deal with it however they see fit. I personally don't think the FI needed to do a statement, but yeah, that's and to answer the question, F1 75, it was great. I think it was a success. I think they just got to just move it as a circus, do it different countries.
Yeah, but don't do it every year. I
Not
don't think
probably
it's something that
probably
should
not
be.
every year.
If it becomes a yearly thing, people, it's going to get boring again. You have to do something. If you're going to do something next year, do something completely different.
Yeah,
But
so
don't do the exact same
no,
thing.
not every
You've
year.
done this. Try something else next time.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it was a success. All right, and so we covered
Same.
Max and Honor 75. Okay. Now the big
Testing
thing, testing.
starts tomorrow. 3 days.
It
Bahrain.
starts tomorrow. It starts the 28th. Starts Wednesday. Whenever it's
So, yeah, Wednesday. Sorry, my
Wednesday.
bad. Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday up until Friday. The
So, as you see, the topic of this episode is
no, it starts the 28th.
28th. What day is that?
That's Friday.
That's Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, Friday the 28th. Yeah, I knew it was the 28th.
Yeah.
So
For 3 days.
yeah. So as the topic of this episode is F175 launch and Bahrain test review. Will we see the 25 pecking order in Bahrain? What do you think?
No.
Or even a glimpse of it.
I don't think we'll be able to tell much, to be honest, because it's only going to be 3 days worth of testing, and teams are going to be trying to pack in as much as they possibly can in those 3 days. So I don't think we'll get a definitive sort of pecking order, but you might get a glimpse of who stands where. Because the questions that what they're gonna be looking at is how now we're gonna see Lewis in the Ferrari, not limited by the amount of kilometers he can run.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have a day and a half in that car, and I think that's what people are gonna be more interested in seeing. How does he come? How is he acclimatized to the Ferrari? Is the car doing what he wants? And I think when he finishes each day of his test, I think he's going to be the most interviewed person. They're going to want to hear from him more than anyone else, because this is the move of all moves in F1.
Yep.
There's never been a bigger move
Blockbuster.
than this in F1. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say, because we've been hearing stories coming out from Italy, like that he's acclimatized, he's getting up to speed, etc., and things look good. But again, that's based on a unlimited amount of running in a mule car.
Yeah.
He did drive the SF25. He did a run-in on 100. I did 100 kilometers on Wednesday, and things seemed, to what I've read, he seemed somewhat pleased. But again, that's only 100 kilometers on a track using controlled tires, etc. So the testing is going to be crucial for him, because he has to fit a lot in a small amount of time, because that's it, 3 days. He's only going to have a day and a half. And then the next time you see him again, it's FP1 in Australia.
So do you think a lot of Australia practice and stuff is going to be extended testing
version for him? Possibly, yes. I think he's going to try and get as much running as he can in those practice sessions, because he's going to need that. It's one thing doing a simulator, that's completely different, and we all know Lewis doesn't really like simulators. He prefers driving. But Lewis is Lewis. He'll figure his way around a situation. And I think he'll get accustomed to that Ferrari and the whole thing by race 3. I expect him to be up to speed.
Okay.
So this test for him, it's crucial.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crucial.
Needs to go smooth, no breakdowns.
Exactly.
No technical issues.
Can't have a Jorge Martin sort of test.
Yeah.
He's gonna need, Ferrari can't have any reliability issues. You can't have issues where they're sitting in the garage for 3-4 hours. That's crucial time he's losing behind the wheel. But so in that regard, the test, I think that's what most people will be looking at intensely on. Go beyond that, again, it's you want to know now. This is the first Red Bull will be next on my list of teams to look at, because again, this is the first non-newy so-called designed Red Bull. I think it's still gonna have elements of previous influence of the previous generation cars.
Yeah.
But now the team is on its own, and he has said the issues that they've got runs deeper than what they think it is. So we'll find out this year, have they actually fixed those problems?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how testing goes and what Lewis does and what everyone does. Because as you said, it's a blockbuster move, right? And I'm sure he didn't go there to lollygag,
No, Lewis isn't going to Ferrari for a vacation. Right. Lewis is Lewis. He's going there to compete because he still thinks he can win. And Brundle did a interview a while back on Sky when he did his first day in the Ferrari, and he said something like, obviously Lewis has lost speed as he has gotten older. That's pretty natural. That's the law of diminishing returns with adults. But 96% Lewis is still good enough to win a championship. Mm-hmm. So if that Ferrari is good, Lewis can win the championship, and that's why he went to Ferrari. It's not there to make up the numbers and just like, oh yeah, I've ticked something off my bucket list. The guy's the ultimate competitor, and he wants to win. So let's see.
So how do you feel? I just wanted to get on top of qualifying. I'm not sure if it was just a Mercedes thing. So that's my main thing that I'm looking forward to. besides him testing. I want to see qualifying. I want to see what he's like over one lap.
I think it was a combination of both. The car just wasn't there last year. And I think when the car was there for him, it's it it's strange. Something just didn't click with him when the car was there. You go and you look at Las Vegas. The car was there the whole entire weekend, but he failed to deliver when it mattered the most. And this is a reset for him. And I think leaving Mercedes was a good move. I didn't like it because, again, I don't like Ferrari. I'll never like Ferrari. I keep telling people this year I'm going to be like an iguana. One eye's looking at Mercedes and one eye's looking at Lewis, because I just don't trust Ferrari as a team. They've shown me their ass too many times for me to think,
Ferrari.
because Kimi drove for Ferrari. You love Kimi, so
not only that, I just love Ferrari as a brand, as a racing team, because you got to think about it, right? This is why I respect Ferrari. Ferrari has been in the gutters, right? Ferrari has been in the gutter. And a lot of teams being in that type of situation probably would have packed up and left.
Yeah, but the thing is, Ferrari can't do that because Ferrari heritage was built on motorsports.
Yeah,
it wasn't built on being a luxury car brand or something like a Mercedes, like that. Ferrari heritage was built on racing, and Formula One is where their marketing is done. They don't have a marketing department where they market the road cars.
Yeah, but Ferrari's a big enough brand now where they could live without Formula One.
Yes. No, yes.
That's a fact.
I'd say yeah, but they still need Formula One.
I don't think they need them. I don't think I think it's just a partnership at this point. I don't think Ferrari, the brand, need Formula One.
You might have a point.
Yeah,
you have a point because again, it's big. It's one of the most.
The brand Ferrari is bigger than Formula One.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the biggest brands in the world. One of the most recognizable.
Which is why I respect them. They're still, and that's the thing that I like, the fact that they're living up to that racing DNA and they're still sticking it out, coming season after season. You got to respect them, right?
Yeah, because again, they're sticking to what their original ethos.
But the reason why I say that, if you look at the world that we live in, different shareholders, all this sort of things that goes on in this world that we live in, right? They know they've got a big brand. They could say we don't really have to do F1, but so I respect them for sticking to their core. Despite win, lose, or draw, they're still there. I respect that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think
how many times have you heard other teams like, if things ain't going their way, we're going to leave? You've never heard Ferrari say that.
Yeah, because those other teams are probably do so based on financial reasons.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I respect the fact that no matter where they're at, they still stick. They commit to F1, and they just keep pushing through it. So it's not the fact that Kimi drove for them. I pay attention to them as a team in terms of just, this is really, to me, that's a commendable thing, right? To haven't won in years, and they still show up every year.
Well,
with a desire to win, despite the things that goes on, despite the mistakes, they still show up with a desire, that burning desire that ends a Ferrari.
Yeah, because again, they're just, to their core, they're a race team first and foremost, compared to, again, the Mercedes ethos, win on a Sunday, sell cars on a Monday sort of thing. That's not Ferrari's ethos. They exist to go racing, and that's why they go racing. As a team, I don't like the team. I just don't like the team because I don't trust them. As a brand outside of Formula One, absolutely, I love Ferrari. Man, if I had the money and I could buy Ferraris, I'd buy Ferraris every day of the week because it's the brand you want to have.
So
But as a
even
rest team, I don't trust him.
so
I just don't trust him.
even with new leadership and stuff, you still feel that way.
Because I've seen them with new leaderships before. And what was the outcome?
But isn't this Vasseur? Isn't Fred Vasseur? Doesn't he have a good track record?
Record of what?
Is he not a good leader? Didn't he win in the lower formulas with Lewis and other
He
people?
won. Oh, yeah, but winning in GP2 doesn't mean you can transfer that over into Formula One. Doesn't mean
Because
you.
a big part of winning is the leadership. So maybe he's a great leader. He could actually lead the team to winning ways. That's what I'm talking about.
Which is why my argument has always been, I'm not going to jump on this bandwagon of like heaping praise on him until he does something.
No,
Because I've seen the likes of Arriva Bene, Binotto, what's the guy's name? Mattiacci. I've seen Ferrari have new team leaders before, but the outcome is the same. So until Fred wins something with Ferrari, then I have nothing more to say. He has to win something. You can't just, jump on this bandwagon and say, "Oh, Fred is he's
No.
the second coming."
It's not
Because that's
no,
what
I'm
I
not
think a
saying
lot of people are doing. They're giving him things
I'm not
that
saying
he
that.
hasn't really achieved as yet. Because again, when he was in Formula One, because he was the manager for was it Sauber? Yeah, I think Sauber. What did Sauber really achieve? Again, he has to achieve something
Yeah.
for us to say Ferrari has returned back to the fold. Because again, proves my point. It makes no difference who the manager is. Ferrari will always do Ferrari, right?
No swear.
Pardon the French. Ferrari should have won last year's Constructors' Championship easily. But you know why they didn't win it? The same thing that happens to them every other year past.
That mid-season lull?
That mid-season dip in form. That's what cost them the championship. It cost them a championship in 17 and 18. 17 and 18, well, granted, they were going up against Lewis. So that's a different beast altogether. But last year,
let's not do that. It doesn't matter who they were going up against. It's the same problem. It's the same problem. Maybe if they had done what they're supposed to do, they would have beaten Lewis.
Luca Di Montezemolo said if Lewis was driving Ferrari in 17 or 18, they would have won at least one of those championships.
And that's why they didn't win anything, because you never come out and you say that when you got drivers in your team.
But that was after that was after they lost the championship. He said that.
And was he going to be there the following year?
Oh,
the same guy that said it.
Di Montezemolo.
Yeah,
I think he'd already been ousted, removed from his position.
Sound like sour grapes to me.
Is it sour grapes? I think it's true though, because the Ferrari in 2018 was actually a car good enough to win. Remember, Seb led the championship up until his whole Germany. That's when his season started to fall apart, and the whole team started to collapse around him. So again, there's history there of Ferrari being looking good, disappear, then coming back at the back end of the season, and everyone thinking, "Oh my God, are they going to carry this over into the next year?" And this is what, and again, this goes back to, we're still talking about the test, so we get on to others in a minute. This is the thing I also want to see in the testing, because they've pretty much changed. Reports are they changed like 99% of that Ferrari. No, we're going to see if that 99% change is better than what they had last year, because they had momentum coming into the back end of the season last year.
Yeah.
Will that momentum carry over into this year? Because anything other than competing for both championships, to me, again, is nothing but failure for Ferrari.
Yeah. Before we move on, let me just finish up on Fred as to why I said what I said about him. From where I sit, the guy looks like people will work for him, right? Mm-hmm. And the previous guys that you call out, the former Ferrari team principals, they were all just stone-faced. Maybe people just did not want to work for them, right? They didn't seem like the type anyone would want to work for, right? This guy seems like maybe it's taking him a little longer to put the Lego bricks together to complete the art piece. But I think he's a better team principal than the previous ones that we just mentioned.
In terms of personality,
In terms of personality, the team seems more gelled, right? He seems to be a true leader. Because the thing is, you could have managers, right? But not every manager is a good leader,
yeah, that's correct.
right? And he seems like a good leader to me. So let's see, watch his space and see how that plays out over.
Which
the
is
next
what I said.
couple of
Which is
seasons.
what I said. I want to see results, because saying all of this and then still don't produce anything, to me is kind of like a pointless
Yeah,
debate.
I'm just giving him giving him the benefit of the doubt. All right, and
I'm giving him nothing. I'm just sitting on the fence and like, show me what you've got. Lewis is there now. You have Lewis, you have Charles. You have all the resources available to you. Martin Brundle once said, he went to the Maranello and he said, if you went to Maranello and saw the facilities, this team should be winning championships year after year after year after year. How are they not doing it? It's the last championship was 2008, bro. The last time they had a run that long was from 79 up until they won the Constructors' Championship in 2000. Was it 2000?
yeah,
From 79, when the last champion, was it Jody Scheckter? Was it Jody Scheckter?
maybe it's just a Ferrari DNA.
No, you know what it is? Listen to my weird reasoning, dude, bro. It's Mercedes. It's Mercedes. Ferrari has never won a championship when Mercedes was a full factory team in Formula One.
Yeah,
If you go back to the 1950s, Mercedes won the championship. I think it was 54 and 55, or is it 53 and 54? When they had that the Le Mans accident, and they pulled out of Formula One after that.
yeah,
That's when Ferrari started to win. Because prior to that, the winners were Alfa Romeo, Lotus. Those were the teams winning championships, not Ferrari.
mm-hmm.
And that's when they started winning. It's Mercedes came back into Formula in 2010, and they've not come close to winning anything. I think that their curse is Mercedes is their curse. Just so.
Right, so that's just Ferrari, Lewis, Charles. Yeah, we didn't mention Charles. He's been at the team for a while, so I think
Charles has pressure on his eye. He's going to be under pressure.
Yeah, but I'm reading also that he says I think I read somewhere where he's saying that the good thing is that from what you're seeing, he's saying that it seems like he and Lewis kind of got similar driving styles. If that's the truth, it means that development shouldn't be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's watch his space.
It should be a linear sort of development, because again, both drivers are asking for the same thing and describing the same thing of car behavior.
Yeah.
So if you have that from both drivers, then okay, you just have to focus on one particular area,
which should push them. Yeah,
you don't have to go down two avenues and try and then to meet at an intersection again. So
all right, and let's push forward. So next one is, have McLaren retained their 2024 advantage? What do you think?
My fear for McLaren this year is, and I hope they don't do it, is what they did the previous 2 years by starting the season off terribly, because they didn't have the car that they ended the year, or they had like halfway through the year or a third of the season. Didn't have that at the beginning of the year. And this would be also, what's his name, Rob Marshall, I think that's his name, who was previously at Red Bull, right? He's now going to be, I think he only started at McLaren last year, so this might be his first full year where now he has direct input into the car, and he was one of Newey's right-hand man, so he's going to have ideas based on his experience working with Red Bull.
Got you.
Will that translate over? Looking at that car last year, if they had that car, I don't know, say after. If they had started the year with that car last year, I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna be mad at me for saying this. Lando would have won the championship.
I can't dispute that.
Lando would have won the championship if they had that car that finished the season. That if they had a car that was even 90% of the car that finished the season, they started with that car, Lando would have won the championship.
Yeah, and if they managed it well.
But he didn't lose because they mismanaged it.
I'm saying I've seen things where I would say if they managed it well.
Yeah, there were situations that they could have definitely managed better. Case in point, obviously, the most obvious one is Hungary. They could have managed that situation better. But again, that situation only arose because Lando messed up. Lando was on pole. He had a bad start and lost all those positions. So if Lando had maintained his lead at the start of the race, he would have walked that race, just like how he walked. He won Singapore, didn't he? He won Singapore, just like he won Singapore. He won like he walked. He won Singapore. He walked Abu Dhabi, just like how he walked Zandvoort. He would have, because that's how good that car was. So there's situations they're gonna have to learn to manage, and I think that was because they haven't been in this position for a long time. The last time they were in a position to be this competitive was when Lewis was there in 2008. Yeah. I'm not even going to count 2012. You can count 2012 because they mismanaged 2012 as well. Poor reliability, etc. Just madness. But if McLaren can improve on what they have, for me, I think they're going to be favorites to win both championships. And I think Lando goes into this year as the favorite to win. And you can't dispute that. You have to look at what they did last year, how they finished the season. He had some bad races. Case Sao Paulo. He had a bad Sao Paulo race. He had a bad Qatar.
So I know in the back end of the season he kind of figured it out, but my thing, I still need to see if he ironed out the starting gremlins consistently.
And the funny thing is, the one time he led the opening lap of a race, I think he won the race. The first time he led the opening lap of a race, he won the race.
Yeah, so
that was his problem.
Yep.
So he threw away races that he should have won because he couldn't get off the line and lead the first lap. He would have won in Monza had he not forgotten that he's on a racetrack and thinking his teammate wasn't going to attack him. Like, are you for real? You're on a racetrack thinking, I didn't think my teammate was going. Sorry, what? What do you expect him to do? He's a racing driver just like you.
Yep. Yeah, so McLaren, I'm interested to see if they could bring it into the 2025 season. Oscar Piastri, let's see what type of improvements he can make.
Because this is going to be what, year 3 for Oscar? Year 3.
Yeah.
Year 3. I mean, if the car is good, he has no excuses, no. Those hot and cold performances that we got from him last year needs to stop. I hear something wheezing in my mic. Those hot and cold performances we got from him last year has to stop. And it will be the same for Lando. Because I genuinely think they're the favorites for this year's championship.
That's
because
fair.
That car last year, with the exception of Sao Paulo where it was wet, that was probably their worst race.
That's fair enough. That's a fair point. Based on how they finished the year, based on how the car progressed over the year. Also, they finished the year with momentum, and let's see if it carries through to 2025.
And to add one more thing as well, because a few years back, I think it was about 2 years ago, I said, my problem with Lando Norris is this: does he take Formula One serious? Right? And I also went on to say, if Lando takes Formula One serious, he's an exceptional talent. But he needs to start taking the sport seriously. And I think last year, he said the exact same thing I said. He said he needed to start it. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was 23. He said it. That he needs to start to be more serious, to cut out some of the childish things that he would do, And you saw that last year. It translated that you could see there was a different attitude to him.
Yeah.
And when he's on, he's quick. Look, you know me. I'm Lewis Hamilton to the grave. But at the same time, I can appreciate other drivers' talent. I know some people don't like George Russell, Lando, whatever. But separate your personal feelings from that.
They're all talented guys.
Lando and George are two of the most exceptional talents on the grid right now. And if Lando gets his head right, moves out his own way and starts to take his craft seriously, you put him in the right car, he's going to win your championship. And I think last year, because he finished second, last year gave him a taste of what it feels like to compete for a champion. Granted, it was a long shot for him to win that championship. I don't know why people think he wasted an opportunity. He was never going to win that championship, because by the time that McLaren was sorted, Max already had like a 3-race
surplus points in the back.
Exactly. And for Lando to have won that championship, Max would need to be finishing races on average 5th. And that was never going to happen.
Yep.
And when and then you add in that teams were taking wins away. McLaren won 6 races. Mercedes won 4. Ferrari won 4. Max won 9 or 10. 9, I think he won. I think he won 9 races. I can't remember. My head goes. I'll have to look at the numbers. So that happening takes away points from them.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people thought that Lando squandered an opportunity. It was an opportunity he never had. It was a long shot. It required a lot of things to have gone his way, and it was never going to happen. But I think this year, if he carries that mindset forward and that McLaren is as good as I think it's going to be, he's favored to win the championship. Definitely favored.
Can't argue that.
But the constructors might be a different story though, because that's going to be might be a different thing. Because again,
we get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna ask you a question before we end. So we already touched on the non-Adrian Newey car. Not gonna go too deep in that.
Liam Lawson. How is he going to fare next to Max?
Wash.
Okay. Obviously, we don't think he's going to be a threat to Max at all.
Yeah, that's why I said wash. I don't think that's even a comparison, to be honest. No disrespect.
No. Yeah, but this is where my actual follow-up question was going to be. If he performs as badly, worse than how Gasly, Kvyat, and Albon performed, do you see Red Bull replacing him halfway through the season?
If history is anything to go by, yeah.
Okay. But with who? That's where the problem comes in for Red Bull.
Yeah, they've done it before. Swapping with Yuki.
But then again, they're not going to give Yuki that seat. Because they've already admitted that on paper, Yuki is quicker than Lawson.
They admitted that?
Yeah. I'm not going to go out there and 100% say yeah, but I'm definitely remember reading something from Helmut Marko where he said Yuki is quick, extremely quick, and they know that. But he then went on to say, it's the other things that he lacked, which is why Liam Lawson got that seat. So Yuki didn't lose out on that Red Bull seat because of pace. It's something else. But I'm not going to use the. Well, I tweeted what that word is. So I'm not even going to go there. People who can read between the lines knows why Yuki didn't get that seat.
And maybe it's not only that, because I know where you're going with it. Maybe it's not that. Maybe on paper Yuki's too close for comfort too.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not the other things. Maybe that other thing might be. I don't know. I'm just you know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Maybe Yuki's just too close for comfort.
I get what you're saying. So we can pretty much rule Yuki out of possibly getting that Red Bull seat. So if Lawson is that bad, they have no one else they can't replace him. They're stuck with him now. Because you got to put Isaac, because was it Isaac Ajar? That's how his name is?
Yeah. He's
the Yuki's teammate.
Yeah.
You're not going to put him next in that seat because he's just going to be worse than Liam Lawson. So Red Bull, Max has created a problem for Red Bull that they don't have a fix for.
With the Ajar thing, give him a chance because we haven't seen him in that F1 car. You never know. He might be. You never know.
I'm sure he did drive in an F1 race before.
No.
I'm sure I saw him.
Probably practice, but never drove a race.
You're probably right.
Isaac Ajar, no.
Yeah, you're probably right. What did he not do? Did he not? Yeah, you're right. I don't know. You're probably right. I'd have to look that. I probably should look that up further. But again, no, Isaac Ajar going into a Red Bull would be a massacre.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but
he'd
like,
be terrible.
No,
he'd be worse than he's worse than Liam Lawson. So you'd never consider to replace him.
But that's what I'm saying to you. The reason why I'm not gonna say that, right? It's a different formula. You never know how he may come in F1 and perform.
Yeah, true, but some things you can go on a limb and say some things, and I think I'm gonna go on the limb here and say, I don't say that. So Max has created a problem for Red Bull that I don't think Red Bull has a fix for internally. In that they've got no one in their young driver program that can step in if Max decides he wants to jump ship, that can come in and replicate anything close to what he has done. So they might now have to look externally for a driver.
Which is okay.
Which is true. It's okay. But who would that driver be?
George.
Charles ain't leaving Ferrari. Lando ain't leaving McLaren because Lando had the opportunity to go to Red Bull and he turned them down.
Big bro, we've been watching this sport for far too long.
Yeah,
there's many a time when if you check back Lewis' history, there's a lot of times, right? He was Mercedes. You would have never thought he would have gone to Ferrari. This is motorsports.
True.
This is motorsports.
True, but Lewis is at the back end of his career.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, this is motorsports. Don't because you got to remember, the drivers don't make the decision what team they stay on. The team makes a decision if they want to keep you. You always got to remember that part.
In some sense, yes.
Yeah, because so ultimately it's a situation where you never know where drivers are going to end up. And I've been watching this long enough to realize that you never know what bombshell is going to drop. Yeah,
but it goes both ways because Carlos would have been at Ferrari this year had he signed his contract when it was offered to him.
Yeah, but as I'm saying to you, either way, you can never tell what driver is going to end up where. We've seen it so many times.
That's true. But at the same time, teams they're going to also be looking at the team.
Yeah, but look at this. Say for instance, just hypothetically speaking, right? Lewis goes into Ferrari and he usurps Charles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now Charles is here. Well, I'm supposed to be the guy. How do you let this guy through the door? And now he seems like, even though his results are better than mine, I feel like I should be getting treated a certain way. And the team are probably like, nah, mate, this is results based. It's easy for another team to say, hey, Charles, we love you over here.
Yeah, but the problem with that is if Charles moved to another team, Lewis is at the back end of his career. So you might as well put up with that until he goes.
Not necessarily, because you got to remember, not necessarily, because if you're talking about Max, even a decent a competitive Red Bull and Max decides to do something else, it's sports. It's about dollars and cents and whatever, right? So it's never, I'm never surprised by a driver switch. I'm never surprised by a move in sports, right? Yeah, who would have thought the Mavericks would have traded Luka?
Yeah,
you know,
they
sports.
They don't want to pay him that super max contract.
That's sports. So I'm never gonna say, well, that's not good. No, don't be surprised. You might find someone get, disgruntled at your team, and driver switch happen. You find next contract cycle, you see Charles in Mercedes in the silver hours. You never know. We've seen this so many times.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens with that front. But Red Bull have a dilemma on their hand, because if that 2026 engine is as bad as the rumors are making it out to be, Max is jumping ship. I said it 2 years ago. The possible lineup of Aston Martin will be Max and Yuki. So watch this space.
Okay, so all right, moving on from that one. Yeah. Side note, this wasn't a part of the our topics. Did you see this rumor about Aston Martin looking to drop $1 billion Max, or is it just rumors? I read it in the news, but I just want to discuss it real quick.
I think I saw it, but you're not gonna drop $1 billion on Max Verstappen. That's just stupid. That doesn't make no damn sense whatsoever. Sorry,
bro. That makes sense to me.
I can't, because that would be a stupid ass investment. You're not gonna pay Max Verstappen $1 billion to drive for your team. That's pretty much half the valuation of your team. Aston Martin is valued at something like 2.3 billion. Why would you give Max 50% of the valuation of your team?
Hold on, let me get this straight. So you're saying it's stupid because of what the team is worth compared to the amount. Are you saying that
Max isn't worth $1 billion? He's not worth $1 billion in salary. He's not. No, he's not. $1 billion over how many years?
I don't know.
Because most Formula One contract, with the exception of Charles and Max, it's the longest I've seen a contract.
But if someone was going to get $1 billion on the grid, who should it be?
No, Lewis.
Based off what have you done for me lately? This is the type of sports we're in.
Even if you remove what have you done for me lately,
so let me ask you
this. The revenue stream that Lewis creates will easily replace that $1 billion you're going to lay out on it.
No, let's remove all of that. I'm talking about if a team was going to drop $1 billion, remove all the other outside revenue streams. We're talking about just pure Formula One. If a team was going to drop $1 billion, you're telling me that you have dropped $1 billion in Lewis now compared to drop $1 billion in Max now?
Based on their age, no, you wouldn't drop $1 billion on Lewis.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
But then at the same time, what's the rumored valuation of Lewis's contract with Ferrari?
I don't know, but I'm just saying that it came out that they're looking, and I'm saying if that's true and they have the money, I wouldn't say Max wouldn't be worth $1 billion.
I would. No driver is worth $1 billion.
No, we're saying, right? You can't say what are you talking about? These crazy contracts in sports. What are we talking about? If
there was someone $1 billion, bro.
I know. That's why I said, if the money was there and someone was really gonna do it, Max deserves it. Based on his results, based on the fact that he's that guy now.
I'm gonna disagree.
So who else on the grid would you give $1 billion if there was $1 billion to give to a job?
Because no one on the
Answer
grid
the question.
is worth
No.
$1
billion.
billion.
If there was $1 billion for a contract, the money's there. Hypothetical, there's $1 billion a team has to drop on a driver. Who would it go to? Who should it go to? I say Max. Based on what have you done for me lately, he's that guy.
Okay, fine, fair enough. If it's just solely on performance on track,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're not talking about the outside stuff, the endorse. We're not talking about the brand, the guy's brand or whatever. I'm just talking about if there's a team that has $1 billion, say we need a driver today, I'm dropping that $1 billion on Max.
I'd rather drop that $1 billion on a designer, on Adrian Newey.
Are you listening to what I'm saying to you?
I'm not going to drop it on a driver
We're
because
talking
again,
about, no, I'm talking
because
no.
because again, hold on, because again, the driver is just the tip of the spear.
No, big bro, I'm saying, given everything else, the team, it's a driver salary I'm talking about. I'm not talking about designers. Everything is already paid for. There's a driver salary of $1 billion. There's a contract on the grid, and there's $1 billion for a driver. I'm not talking about for a team principal or designer. It's for a driver. Who would you give that $1 billion to?
Naturally, Max would be.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So that's why I said when I heard it, I'm like, it doesn't sound crazy if they have the money. Because who else would you give $1 billion? There's no one else that should get that billion.
It sounds crazy because it's just a crazy thing to do. No one's gonna do that. That just seems. I think that's some nonsense rumor probably coming from his side of the pond.
Yeah, but
$1 billion, hell no.
Yeah, as I said, that was just one of them side topics.
Okay, teams don't even spend because you're talking about $1 billion. If you give him $1 billion over 3 years, his average salary per year would be $333 million a year.
Yeah.
There's no athlete in the world currently who gets paid even $100 million.
No, big bro. I think you're taking it. I'm just saying, because the way sports is going now and the way things are moving, there's a lot of money coming out here. And you never know. Maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, $1 billion for a driver is the new norm.
Then if it gets to that stage.
So I'm just saying, what if that time was now?
The sport has lost all sense of sensibility. If it ever gets to that stage.
No, you can't say that because it's going to always be based on what the sports is making. So maybe $1 billion is now the new norm for a contract. You got to remember, you got to move with the time. So if the sport is making 10, 20 times the money, why shouldn't the driver get triple up and quadruple up?
But the sport has always been making 10 multiple more than the drivers.
Listen,
but
let's break this down.
Again, hold on. You have to remember, the teams get prize money from a prize spot.
No, we're not. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just making this simple. When Jordan and Rodman and them was playing, the contract was not like what they have now, right?
Correct, because Jordan got the largest contract in, I think it was 98, where he got paid something like $36 million for 1 year. That was the largest anyone was ever paid at that point in time. Normally, contracts average someone would probably be getting a year was maybe 10.
Exactly.
15.
So that's what I'm talking about. With moving of times, even baseball contracts become ridiculous, right? That's what I'm saying. Once Formula One, what if Formula One get to that point where $1 billion for 5 years is the new norm? And yeah, Max would deserve it if that time was now.
I guess you have a point. There.
Yeah,
I pray it doesn't come to that because then again, Formula One is already expensive as it is.
You just want to come to that because by that time Lewis will be gone.
Yeah, but Lewis, what's the Lewis contract? The rumors.
I think his contract is I think he's on a big contract from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, the rumors were that he's getting something like $100 million.
Yeah, rumors. Yeah, that's
$100 million
at 40,
a year.
At the back end of your career, you're still. That's
exactly
crazy.
So if he's getting $100 million a year, US, he has a 3-year contract. Yeah, 3-year contract. You paid him $300 million over that 3 years. Plus, they also put in another $400 million to support his Mission 44 initiative as well. So
yeah, that's a big.
That's close to $1 billion.
Yeah, that's a great contract, and he deserves
that's
it.
That's close to $1 billion.
He deserves
it. I mean, of course, if anybody on the grid deserves to be paid that sort of money, it's Lewis.
Yeah, he deserves
because
it.
Lewis is Formula One.
Let's move on to the next thing. All right, then. So I'm not going to go through all the
Mercedes.
cars on the grid, but all the teams. But let's go to Mercedes, right?
Hmm.
Have they solved their? You think they've solved their issues?
Well, I've seen rumors, stories. There's some Italian guys I follow. I think the website is called Phone Analytica. And they were talking recently that extensive work has gone in to fix the problems that affected the previous generations of car. And the team thinks that they've done that. But we've heard that story before. We heard it in 23, we heard it last year. So until we see it on track, that's still up for debate. But it's a big year for Mercedes. And it's not so much so about how the car performs, it's how the team now moves on from Lewis. The
Yeah.
new direction the team is taking. How will they how will they build going forward? How will George, now he has inherited the mantle of being a team leader,
Team leader, yeah.
how is he going to galvanize the team? Because he spoke about it in an interview recently. Like, one of the things he learned from Lewis is how Lewis dealt with the team, how he motivated everyone whilst things were, at its worst. He still had that positive upbeat, and he came in and he tried to uplift everybody. That's not how will George be able to do that. Exactly. If the W16 turns out to be a dud, because of all the teams, they're the only ones that we've not actually seen the actual car. Because the car that was shown at the F1 live event was the actual W15. They had said late last year that they weren't going to unveil the car, because normally they would have done a shakedown at Silverstone, and they said they're not doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The first time anyone will be seeing the car is when they do the shakedown the day before testing officially starts. So Mercedes, what am I saying, McLaren? Mercedes right now, it's a big year for them, because you've lost your talisman driver. You've now signed an 18-year-old. He's the second youngest driver to have ever raced in Formula One. How will this team dynamic work? How will Toto Wolff and James Allison lead them back from the last 3 years of absolute dismal performances? So them coming into this season is the big unknown right now. And how will a young Kimi Antonelli fare now that he's in the mosh pit? I like him. I like him. I like that. He seems to have his head on his body. He says the right things. And when you saw him in F2, he was quick. And for his first season in F2, he outperformed his more experienced teammate, Ollie Berman. I think he finished 6th in the championship, which is, when you consider that he skipped F3, because he did the Italian F3 championship, where I think he won the Italian F3 championship, and jumped straight into F2. And to perform the way he did, we saw how he drove in the rain in Hungary, that race that he won. We saw he won a race, I think he won in Silverstone as well. We saw glimpses of what he's capable of doing. Ignore what he did in free practice in Monza. Just put that down to youthful exuberance and so on. But at the same time, you want to know, will that happen in this season? Because I expect he's going to have some difficult moments.
Yeah.
But it's how the team deals with those difficult moments and how they move on from those difficult moments. That's going to be interesting. So for Mercedes, it's a massive, massive year, because again, you've lost your talisman. You've been promising since 23 that you've gotten on top of your issues, but then you turn up to the season, you realize you haven't.
Yeah.
So for me, in some ways, there's somewhat of a dark horse in this. Them along with Aston, because how will the just segue into Aston quickly.
That's where I was going
How
next. So good segue. That's where I was going next.
the new effect, how will the new effect translate into Aston Martin? Because it's not just Newey. You also have Andy Cowell who has come over. He's now the new team principal, right? I think Newey will be somewhat involved in this project. But I think the Newey
Yeah,
input
new
will be
effect will
more
happen next
felt,
year.
next
Next
year.
year, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
That's where it will be more felt next year because again, new power unit, new chassis, everything. The whole it's the first time that they're changing both chassis and power unit in the regulations. It's always been one or the other that year, but never both.
Both, yeah.
So it's going to be, you know, so these two teams are coming into this year with a lot to prove. A lot to prove because Aston in 2023, they came out the gates blazing. And they then just from Canada,
Dropped off.
from Canada,
Went off a cliff.
2023, they just went downhill. And also, you know, sticking to Aston Martin, when will the team make the decision to move on from the current driver lineup? Because, like I said, I don't think that Red Bull power unit is going to be good at next year. And I don't think Max wants to sit around and wait for them to come good with it. So he'll be starting to explore his options. What are Aston going to do? Are you still going to hold on to Alonso, who's going to be what, 44, 45 this year? 44 this year. Are you still going to hold on to Alonso and Lance Stroll? Going into a new set of regulations where now you've managed to convince Honda to come back into the sport, to now be your power unit supplier. Honda still has ties with Yuki, right? Yep. Something has to give because I've talked about this extensively. They've invested so much money into that team, billions. They've in the infrastructure. I remember seeing a picture of the facilities pre-takeover by the consortium, right, to what it is now, and it's night and day. It now looks like a Red Bull compound, a Mercedes compound. That's how it looks now. It now looks like one of these guys. So they've invested heavily in infrastructure and manpower. You brought Adrian Newey in. You've given him, you sold his soul to him. You've given him shares in the team, elevated him to this position. You've brought Andy Cowell out of retirement. You've got Honda back in the fold, right? You're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, but you have two pieces that just won't fit that puzzle. And those pieces are Alonso and Lance Stroll, because you're not going to win a championship with Alonso anymore. I don't care what anybody says. The only way Alonso wins a championship is unless Newey designs a car that's 5 seconds a lap faster than everybody else.
Unless they have a Brown moment.
Even that. And I don't see that happening. And you have to remember, even the Brown moment, they nearly lost that championship.
Yep.
Let's not forget. They should have lost that championship, but it's because of the unreliability with the Renault engine that car said. Yep. With the alternator constantly failing and all of that. He could only do one lap in qualifying and all of that nonsense. So, but that's I think the dilemma that Aston has. That's the biggest dilemma. Do we stick or we move on from these guys? Because neither of these guys are good enough to win us a championship anymore. And if Max, because mark my word, Max is going to become disgruntled at Red Bull if that 26 power unit is garbage, because all the reports are saying it's not performing as how they'd expect it to perform. So let's see what.
Yeah, let's watch this space, right?
Yeah.
Let's say we're not gonna go through all the teams, right? On this one. So what else are you watching? What team are you watching? So we mentioned Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. What team are you looking out for? What team do you think is probably gonna spring a surprise? We mentioned McLaren also. So Outside that, the big four, what do you think is going to spring a surprise?
I think it could be Haas. I think it could be Haas because Haas now has Ocon and Ollie Behrman in their lineup. And last year they weren't that bad. There were a couple of races where they were quite quick, but I think the car just fell off because again, they probably don't have that level of resources that everyone else has to maintain that sort of momentum. Because you have to remember, the car is built things are designed one place and they assemble here and whatnot, so they're all over the place. They don't have a designated facility for themselves because I think the design department is in Maranello.
So they're not on the campus.
Yeah, I think they're on the design department is on the Maranello campus. So again, I think they could surprise someone. So if we're going in terms of let's just segue into, because we don't want to run the podcast in 2 hours this time, because last time Christian said to me 2 hours, Thanos, 2 hours. I'm like, look, we're working on, we get it down, don't worry. But if we segue into like who we think are going to be the championships standings next year.
I mean, championship contenders or championship
contenders.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be 4 teams. We know the 3. Red Bull, McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari. And I think Mercedes are going to turn up to the race. They're my team, so I'm going to have faith in them that I think they're going to get it right. And I think they're going to turn up to the 4 and they're going to be in the mix this year. Who wins what, I don't know. But I think these are the 4 teams that are going to be contenders for the championship. Outside of the top 4, the 4, if you rank the other 6, I think I'm Aston Martin. Again, I think they're still going to be where they were last year. Aston Martin. I'm going with VCOB. Going with Haas. Then who's after Haas? Alpine.
That's my team to watch.
Yeah.
Not to necessarily spring a surprise. Based on where they started last year to where they finished, I'm just trying to see if they could make an improvement up on that. Because they started last year with an elephant.
So after them, I'm going Williams and then Sauber, Audi bringing up the rear. I just think they're going to be terrible because there's too many stories coming out of that whole entire what's the word I'm trying to use? Team. There's too many negative stories coming out. There seems to be a lot of mismanagement going on, and Binotto been saying stuff like you can't understand how Seidel was running the team, etc., etc. So I think they've got a lot of issues that they need to sort out before it fully becomes Audi for 2026. Alpine, I don't know. I don't trust that team. And they've already put things in place for me not to trust them because they signed Colapinto, which tells you Doohan is basically head is already on the chopping block. We've not had a single races yet.
That's why I put
so it's likely he could be the first driver that gets replaced next year.
That's why if you looked on our X feed, there's a photo that I did that says Jack doomed.
Yeah, he's pretty much they put him in a position now where he knows
he's gonna be driving under pressure from the outset rather than spending time to really acclimatize.
Exactly, because Colapinto has already proved himself. He's already done something in the sport.
Because that's my thing. So I guess my question is Jack really gonna get a fair shot?
Yes, he will, but for how long will that shot last? That's the question. Will they give him the first 5, 6, 7 races?
You realize that I put fear in it? There's a difference with a fear shot and a shot.
True. That's true.
It is a
He's
difference.
definitely getting a shot.
Yeah, is it a
But
fair
how many
shot?
bullets is he gonna get to
Yeah,
shoot?
you know what I'm saying? That's my thing, right? So let's watch it. Let's see what happens with that. Let's see what happens with that. And yeah, just to round it off, rookies.
Rookies. What are the rookies? Anthony Lee is gonna be a rookie.
Jack Doan,
Duan. Jack Duan is gonna be a rookie. There's somebody else.
Isaac Ajar,
Isaac Ajar.
and Bertolino, the F2 champion.
Yeah, he's at Sauber, isn't he?
Yeah.
Sauber Audi. Yeah, I'll take him out of the equation because I think that Sauber is just going to be terrible.
So you're giving Antonelli Rookie of the Year in before the season starts?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to him because I think there's just something about him that just he has that presence.
Question.
He has that.
Question. What do they class Liam Lawson as?
Well, that's a good question because I did see somewhere where it says when is a rookie not a rookie.
Yeah,
Because I mean, he did from
class him as a
Singapore
rookie.
onwards. He did from Singapore onwards. So is it 6 races? That was 6 races he did last year. So he's not a rookie. Sorry, you can't be a
He's
rookie.
not a rookie, yeah, because he did.
Would Behrman be classified as a rookie?
That's I'm waiting to see how that one.
Would you classify Behrman as a rookie because he raced in Jeddah and he raced somewhere? Didn't he race somewhere else? I think he did 2 races.
I think he did 2 races. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the other, but I do know.
Let's see.
Do know he raced in Jeddah.
Yeah, well, we mentioned 4 that are definitely rookies though. So.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give it to Anthony. I think there's something about this kid that just like I think when Lewis goes, he's the one I'm gonna be keeping my eye on because I think he has all the attributes.
The car needs to be somewhat there though.
Yeah.
For him to at least the car needs to be. Well,
that's
as
natural.
I said, it's not going to be worse than the rest, right?
Yeah, that's natural. The car has to be
where the rest of rookies are. I don't think the Mercedes is going to be worse than the Sauber. I don't think it's going to be worse than Alpine. I don't think it's going to be worse than who's where
Haas, Aston.
Yeah, I don't.
Or the Williams. Or the Williams.
Yeah, where all the rookies are. I think as a rookie, the team that he's in, he's the best placed rookie. Put it that way. Let's just put it that way.
Because I mean, again, if you factor in Lewis, it's the first time a rookie has ever joined a top team. Pretty much, he's the first since Lewis to have, as a rookie, to walk into one of the top teams. Charles had to do his apprenticeship at Sauber. George had to do his at Williams. Sainz did his at Toro Rosso. Sainz and Max did theirs at Toro Rosso.
Did Lando go straight to McLaren?
Yeah, but McLaren at that time wasn't really a big team. Wasn't really a front runner, were they? They're pretty much.
I don't think they talk about. I think they talk about top team. I guess they're more talking about brand as a team. Because you said Charles didn't have to go straight to Ferrari, right? Didn't go straight to Ferrari. Ferrari wasn't hot at the time.
Yeah, but we're talking about when Lando went to McLaren. McLaren hadn't won a race since 2012.
So are you basing it based on?
Yeah, based on the team.
Okay, I think you're basing it on those top teams.
Yeah.
Okay. Because top teams in F1 could be just based on brand, right? Based on name. Ferrari's a top team, even if they're not winning. So
but
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
In terms of like performance, yeah. So Kimi's coming into a team whilst the Mercedes isn't.
So you're saying he's coming into a team that actually won races consistently past. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because they've won races every year since, well, no, except 23. They've won races every year since 2012, with the exception of 23. So he's coming into a team that, when Lando joined McLaren were pretty much nowhere. They were definitely a midfield team. You wouldn't class Mercedes per se as a midfield team, would you? Yeah. So
so we're gonna run it off with the rookies. Yeah, we try to keep it under hour. There we go again, pushing 1 hour 46, but we gonna figure it out. It's gonna get shorter and shorter, right? So we're gonna wrap this one up.
I think the more we start to get into it,
We're like beta testing. I'm still testing out different microphones, different stuff. So we're pushing out the content because we just got to put it out. We're not going to sit on it, right?
And hold on, and just a slight correction. We did get our testing days wrong. Testing starts the 26th.
It's the 26th,
which is,
so why is it?
Yeah, which is Wednesday until the 28th. Yeah, I know it's right.
It starts the 26th to the 28th?
The 28th, yeah.
Okay.
And then the packing up and the shipping off to Australia. And then the following weeks.
You know why? Because the way they did it, they list the last day at the top on the F1 website.
Which is kind of dumb. I'm looking at it now.
I'm looking at it like, why would you put the first day at the last day at the top? People read from the top down, right? Am I crazy? People read from the top down, right?
Yeah. Because I'm looking at it and I saw the 28th and I'm like, why is the 28th there? And then I scroll up and I'm like, oh, it's the 26th. So it's kind of like a dumb thing for them to do. But yeah, it starts on Wednesday. I think the Mercedes are going to do the shakedown and the filming day in Bahrain on the Tuesday.
All right.
So we might definitely get some pictures of what a W16 looks like.
Okay,
you know.
All right, at least we correct that before we finish up. Hey, they don't even know the calendar.
Yeah, people are like
so. But before we wrap it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap it up, I wanna we've touched 52 cities, 12 countries, right? So I just want to give these countries a quick shout out. It will be long shouting out the cities. So
is it 52 countries or 52 cities?
We touched 52 cities and 12 countries.
Then cool.
And
go on.
What is it?
I'll tell you who follows me from them countries. Go on.
And I think we touched 3 continents.
Yep.
Let me tell you exactly what it is, and I'll give these people a shout out. My computer is frozen. It's been frozen for the past hour, but it's still recording, which is good. And I'm recording on an SD card, so we'll be all right. Let me shout these countries out real quick. So obviously the United States. Shout out several cities there.
Shout out my peeps, Crystal, up in Brooklyn.
We got the UK, right?
Yeah, that's everybody who follows me.
Yeah, and then we have so shout out Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, Netherlands, Belgium, Ghana, Norway, France, India, and Canada.
Wait, so no one's from South Africa?
Yeah, there's people from South Africa.
Oh, because if there wasn't, me and my dude NK, we'd be having arguments, man. Because I'm like, NK, how you know, but
And so Johannesburg, Gauteng, in South Africa. We touch. I'm surprised that we touch. I'm not really surprised because we're doing it to for people to listen. So I'm grateful, is what I should say.
Well,
I'm grateful.
I'm grateful, and I'm actually surprised because when you told me the numbers of how many downloads we've had, and I'm like, yo, that's for a first time thing. It's not perfect. There's still things we can do better to get that much downloads. And I remember one of my followers, I think his name's Zaid, sent me a DM in Twitter, my DM. I think his name's Zaid. Where is he from? Hold on, I'll tell you where is he from. Hold on, for some reason I can't see. Yeah, he sent me a message, saying he listened to it and on Spotify and gave us a good review, and I'm kind of like, I appreciate that. So, leave the comments, leave us a comment on the when we post the link. Tell us what you think about it, things we can do better, things we've gotten wrong, and so on, because we can only get better from the feedback of the fans. So all comments are welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And even though they run long, now we're at 1 hour 51. The thing is with editing, right? What do you cut out? What do you edit out? We just got to be more disciplined at us keep in a certain time frame. It means that we're probably gonna have to spend less time on certain topics, but we'll figure it out. Yeah. As I said, I appreciate everyone who listened, everyone who downloaded, everyone who follows. We really do appreciate it. As I said, we're just 2 brothers who are passionate about motorsports, right? And we're just doing this to create a community. It's a great feeling. It's been in the works over a year, and finally get it out, pushing out our second episode now. Right. Once again, you could follow us on X, our Twitter, which is the GP Project Pod, Instagram, the GP Project Podcast, and YouTube, the GP Project Podcast. You could also follow me on X, GP Project Dre. That's my X.
Yeah, everybody already know where they can find me on Twitter. It's Thanos876. I'm always creating mayhem. Just wherever you see a fire, you know that's where I am. Yeah, it's me.
And it's all this fun. Yeah, we have videos. Actually, these are being video recorded. I just haven't dropped the video, right? So once again, we appreciate everyone who tuned in, everyone who listened. We really do appreciate it. Give us a like, give us a follow, and we'll keep it coming. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Grand Prix Project podcast.